I'm on mute again. Honestly, start off by I haven't changed the chat. You can't see the chat. Then I'm muted. You guys would think that I haven't done any prep for this and I've had a crazily busy day. Well, you would be right. But anyway, I am unmuted now, hopefully. Hopefully you can all hear me now. Let me know if you can't, but you should be able to. Let's get into it. What do you mean? You can't move my lips? Exactly. So what we're going to do today is have a talk about game week 23, double game week, as it was announced today for Watford and for Burnley. We'll talk about potentially whether we should be looking at any of their assets if you guys don't own them. I'll be answering as many of your questions as you can get in the chat. So yeah, start firing away all of your questions. But before we do that, let's say hello to some of you. So say hello if you guys are in the chat and are watching, and we will go through and do the usual bits of hellos and shout outs before we go and get started. We will talk about what we're going to do potentially with Ronaldo. We have heard quotes this afternoon that he may be a doubt for the upcoming game week 23. So we'll have to think about that for our teams, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to use a transfer on it this week. I think I will just let it be. Let what will be, because as you see from my team, I already have enough of a benching dilemma anyway. At the moment, I'm benching Odegaard, who has Burnley at home. I could bench, it was originally Bowen, but I switched him with Odegaard. It could be Bernardo, Silva as well. But this is how my team is lining up for the moment. So, hi Chris, hi Benji, Rio, Brian, Oscar, Andy, CM Punk, Shiraz, how are we doing? Nice to see you in. Jack, Ashish, Magic Master, how are we doing? Nice to see you. Jack, Moshi, Ankit, Sergey, SSR, John Pierre, Anpank, Bogdan, Hamza, how are we all doing? Ankith, nice to see you guys all in here already. Game week 23 deadline stream. Let's change that away so that anyone can be in the chat for the time being. H, Masur, Odingo, Daniel, Safal, nice to see you guys in here already. Start firing your questions in and we will get cracking with the stream. I'm just going to pre-warn you all that I'm a bit tired. It's been a long week and it was a late night last night. I'm feeling a little bit sluggish this afternoon after a very big week of work. So it's going to be a bit more of a chill, relaxing stream than maybe we've had the past couple of weeks, but we'll still answer all of your questions like we do on most of these streams. But last week, for any of you guys asking, so again, I always hear people say, oh, I'm too busy to, do a video or to do something, and I think, oh, you just need to find time. Finally, this week, I've understood what that has meant. I've been so snowed in with work that I didn't even have a chance to record a team selection video, and I thought there'd be a double game week coming anyway, right? So there was no point in me really recording it unless I just wanted to record it for the views, which was no use to anyone. So I kind of was hoping that there'd be a double game week, so I was kind of waiting for that. So I scored 74 points last time out. Let me just... There we go. 74 points last time out. My captain was Ronaldo, unfortunately, but at least I did own Bruno Fernandes. If you guys, anyone in the chat, captain Bruno Fernandes, let me know. Just let me know if you captained him. Cancelo, Trent doing the business, De Gea in goal, Bowen in midfield, and then, of course, Bruno Fernandes. Is anyone in here with Bruno Fernandes captain last week? Congratulations. Massive shout out to you for what must have been a great haul. If you guys are enjoying, just before we get started, if you could like the stream as well as we're cracking on with this game week 23 deadline stream, that would be much appreciated. If we could get it up to 50 likes before, and then we will crack on with all your questions for this week. So, since Ronaldo is injured, is getting Bruno Fernandes a must? I think it definitely, for those of you who, the thing is, Bruno Fernandes was not meant to be a great option for Game Week 22. He was meant to be a better option if Ronaldo was not going to play, but then he was also meant to be, Ronaldo was meant to play, right? So we were meant to get Bruno Fernandes playing twice with Ronaldo, which he did something in the second game with him, but he's not normally as good. But now we might be going into a third game where we've got a Bruno Fernandes playing without a Cristiano Ronaldo next to him, which again makes him an even better option. I really like the idea now of Bruno for this game week. I don't plan on keeping him long term. However, if Ronaldo's out, I may end up doing so. I, of course, need a route back to Salah, and this is something I bang on about in all my videos and all my streams, is that if you guys last week were selling Salah, if you are, if you're looking for a replacement, you sold him, you're moving around the money, is you need to have one eye on how you're going to get Salah back in the upcoming game weeks. Now, we have heard potential rumours, and I think Rangnick said it in his press conference as the chance of a Manchester United double game week in game week 25. Now, he didn't say it outright like that, but what he said was their upcoming games were Southampton followed by Brighton at home, which they don't play. Brighton at home is one of the games they need to have rescheduled, which would be after game week, which would make them have a double game week in game week 25 of Southampton and Brighton at home, which would be a great double game week, which then means if I'm wanting to get Salah back in, I basically can't, right? Because I'm not going to sell Bruno Fernandes and I'm not going to sell Ronaldo before their double, but Salah goes away to Burnley in that game week. So not having Salah in that, is it worth keeping Bruno for it? It's quite a close call. At the moment, if they were to get a double, I think I'd keep Fernandes and not go back to Salah for it. Yeah, a double game week 25 hinted by Rangnick. Ronaldo to Dennis or roll the free transfer. I find that quite difficult. Again, if you have Bruno, I probably would do it. But if you didn't, and then again, when these doubles come around, you'd be scrambling a little bit if they get one. Ronaldo to Dennis is a really difficult one. I would probably do it now that he's a doubt. If he wasn't a doubt, I wouldn't do it. But now that he is, I maybe would go and I would probably do it. If it's for free, then yeah. Dennis or King. So trying to pick between the two of them is definitely something which is difficult, and it is a toss of a coin. Now, if you look at the eye test, maybe it favours Dennis slightly more. If you look at stats, then maybe it favours King slightly more, but it's a really close call between the two of them. So it's very difficult to pick. I'm on Dennis, but it's really hard. It's really, really difficult to pick. I'm going Dennis because that's who I've gone with now. He's just been slightly better in terms of the eye test, which I do like. But if you're going for both, then that's great. I think they're nice options this week. It is a great double game week again, although it was last week, and look how that turned out. But yeah, before we continue, Nuclear, I'll moderate it in the chat. It is Nuclear's birthday today, so anyone who wants to wish Nuclear Atoms a nice happy birthday in the chat would be much appreciated. Thank you for joining the stream on your birthday as well. Ramsey or Coutinho, that's quite tough. I think Coutinho is probably the better to start every week, but Ramsey is a very good cheap enabler, and it may depend on sort of what you're doing with your starting squad, whether you have, what? Hang on a minute. Sorry. Yeah, it may depend on how good your squad depth is. Maybe you're wanting to bench Ramsey every week. Is that player going to need to start every week? So that's probably the big thing, is if they're going to start every week, then I think you go with Coutinho. But if they can go on your bench, then I think you go Ramsey. I think it's quite hard to answer. Evening, how do I feel about the day 13 gap to Watford second game, just 3 days before they play West Ham away? I see issues during that long wait. I don't particularly, because yes, they go away to West Ham, but them winning Norwich at home, Burnley away is so important that they pick up probably 4 points in these two games. if they pick up 4 points in these 2 games, then it puts them in such a good place for safety. These 2 games are some of the biggest that Watford have got left this season. So I don't have too much of a worry. The fact that it's a massive gap is so strange. It's a 2-week gap between the end of the first part of game week 23 and the actual double game week. It's a 2-week gap. There's a whole weekend in between. So yeah, it's weird. It's going to be such a long wait. That game week's going to come round, and I don't know how much it's going to affect rank, because everyone's going to have, if King or Dennis goes off, then fine. But everyone's going to have very similar players in that. There's going to be very little differential in Watford players. Maybe if you've got Foster like me. Is anyone else playing Foster? I imagine there are a fair few people. De Gea's playing against a West Ham side which love to score goals. So although I know Watford haven't kept a clean sheet all season yet, I am just kind of hoping that maybe they can get their first one this week. But yeah, Foster for the doubles. Foster. A lot of you guys in the chat starting Foster. Nice work. Yeah, that's where I'm going with it. What about Backman? So Foster came back into the team after coming back from injury and went straight back into that lineup. So I have kind of no doubt that he's going to be first choice. I probably expect him to play both then anyway. Thoughts on Lacazette to a Watford striker? Lacazette is a transfer waiting to happen with the blanks. Yeah, selling Lacazette before Burnley at home is not ideal. But if you don't have a Watford striker, then I think you can do it. I don't necessarily think if you've got one Watford striker, doubling up is a good idea, because after they play this week, their upcoming fixtures are okay. Now, they're still good value. Dennis, they're still good value in King. But I don't think there's enough sort of value. There's enough combination of value and potential points to own both of them long term. So I would probably, I would own one. If you can get one in for Lacazette, then fine. But if it's to bring in a second one, then I probably wouldn't do that. Nutanon, thank you very much for subscribing. Who to buy for Gundogan? You're thinking Coutinho or Foden? You've got 2 million in the bank. Yeah, I like both of those options. I also like Rafinha a lot. Their upcoming fixtures are quite difficult, but Rafinha's looked so good for Leeds. I definitely consider him. Again, guys, 300 of you watching. Appreciate you guys coming and joining the stream already, with still an hour and a half to go until the deadline. But only 40 of you have dropped a like. So if we could boost that up to closer to 100, just 60 more. Don't leave it for someone else, as I say, and it really helps support the stream. Then I would massively appreciate just some more likes, and it helps get the stream shared around. So I would appreciate that a lot. Would I start Brownhill? Probably not. If you've got absolutely no one else to play, then fine. But I don't think he's going to score more than maybe 5 points this week. So I wouldn't be benching someone who you're happy to start for Brownhill. I wouldn't be doing that. Is Ronaldo 100% not playing? So on Ronaldo, and I see a lot of questions in the chat flying around, we don't know if Ronaldo is going to be playing. I definitely wouldn't captain him. I'll probably be looking at a Watford captain. Those fixtures are just too good to ignore. Yes, they may be a cagey game, but I would still be captaining a Watford striker if you have one. I wouldn't be selling Ronaldo for a hit. If you have an obvious route, if you have a Watford striker and Ronaldo, I would keep Ronaldo. I wouldn't do Ronaldo to a second Watford striker. Thank you, Samuel, for subscribing, and welcome to the channel. Appreciate it. So, yeah, if you've got Ronaldo, I would keep him unless you don't have a Watford forward and maybe you want to go Ronaldo to King or Ronaldo to Dennis. But do I really trust Watford players for captaincy? You prefer Liverpool or City? It's just the double game week. I always, unless it's a bad double game week, but still, I really try and chase the upside on these sorts of things. You've got Dennis, if he scores once in either game, which in theory is possible, you're looking at a much higher upside potential. Where there's something goes wrong in a single game week, you're left with a blank. But for something to go wrong twice is then much less likely. So that's why I've got Dennis as my captain now. Dennis or King, it's a tough one. So I would probably be going in. If I had to buy one, I'd buy Dennis, right? Because that's who I've got in my team at the moment. But I would be on Dennis. Just because I feel like he's so energetic and so ingrained in so involved in what they do now that I would be going for him. Now, I don't expect him to keep up the returns that he scored in recent weeks, but I think he's not a bad option. Guys, I know I don't have slow mode on yet, but if we could not spam in the chat, then that would be great. Otherwise, I'll have to turn it on, and I won't read the comments if it's being spammed in the chat. So, and mods, if you see that again, feel free to time people out if that's what's happening. Sorry, super chat. Thank you very much, Carlos. Appreciate the super chat a lot. As I say to anyone who donates a super chat, I am so grateful. But if you go and check out the link in the top of my description, for the same price as that super chat, you can join as a channel member for a month, which basically gets you unlimited super chats for £1.99 a month, basically the same as that super chat, which basically gets you unlimited super chats because it highlights your name in the chat to me. It gives you a little badge, and I will always answer every single question that a member in my channel asks, and that is just £1.99 a month or £5.99, and you get access to my chats on Twitter as well, so you don't just have to ask during a live stream on Twitter. You can ask them whenever. So there are 2 tiers of membership for anyone who wants to check them out. The link is at the top of the description. But yeah, the base one of just £1.99 gets you highlighted in the chat and gets all of your questions answered. Play Bernardo, Silva or Gray? Asking the chat as well. Sorry, I didn't even answer that question. Would I play Dennis and King? If you have both, 100% start both. If you only own one, I wouldn't necessarily go buying the other, because yes, they could do well this week, but their fixtures afterwards are difficult. So if we look at their fixtures, after this week, West Ham, Brighton, Villa, United, Arsenal, that's quite difficult. So I think owning one for this week to try and get as many points as we can in for this specific game week, great. But after that, then I think they're not good enough. So you'd probably want to look to sell one of them. So if you have both, play both and captain one. But if you only own one, I would probably just stick with one. I wouldn't be buying into a second one, personally. How are you all doing? Would I go for any Watford defenders? No. So if you've got Foster in goal, then I would consider starting him, absolutely. But I wouldn't go buying into their defence. Their defence has been pretty shaky recently. They haven't kept a clean sheet all season, so I wouldn't go and buying into any of it. If you don't own Foster, don't go buying him. It's probably not worth it. Paul Onyeka, again, thank you very much for the super chat. Again, if you want to consider joining as a channel member, which is much better spending of your money, then great. But I appreciate the super chat with your question nonetheless. Play Antonio or Smith Rowe? I already have Bowen. I'd probably want to play Smith Rowe, because I am thinking that Smith Rowe is going to start this week, because we're not expecting there to be many defensive midfielders available for Arsenal, and they're playing in a team that they'll want to just have a lot of attacking players on the pitch. So I do think Smith Rowe will start. So there's a lot of me that would probably go and start Smith Rowe over Antonio, although United have been conceding a lot of chances recently. So that's quite a close one. You're very lucky if your team is in a place that you're picking between them, but I suppose I'm in a similar situation. I don't have Antonio, but I am starting I'm benching Odegaard at the moment in favour of Bowen, but Bowen's been on such a good run of form that I think that is kind of happy with where that's at. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see so many of you in. Bowen or Antonio, who should you start? I would start Bowen if you own both of them. If you own both, I would probably start Bowen. Cool. If you are new around here, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We have just passed 15,000 subscribers last stream, which was great. It was such an awesome stream last week. And turn on notifications if you haven't already, because there will be plenty of streams, videos coming your way between now and the end of the season, hopefully to get you to the best possible rank you guys all can. So if you are new, please do consider subscribing, and doing it during a stream is a great time to do so, because depending on your privacy settings, you'll get a little pop-up on the stream display in the corner, which is, I don't know, over there somewhere. Would I wildcard now or later? I don't think that this week is probably the right week to wildcard. I don't necessarily know what you're wildcarding into. If your team is in a bad state, then fine. But I think a lot of the players that we've been looking to buy over the past couple of weeks are good to own this week anyway. I wouldn't be playing a wild card this week if it was me. I don't think it's really the best time to be playing it. Would I triple captain Dennis? Now, someone else has asked me this earlier, and I don't think it's a completely ridiculous option, but I still think there's going to be a Liverpool double game week, which I just want to triple captain either Salah or Trent in, which I trust them much more than Dennis. Now, if I didn't know Liverpool were going to have a double game week, then maybe I would do it now, but yeah, so because of that Liverpool double game week, I'm not really considering playing all of my chips elsewhere. Thank you, Peter Peters. Thank you very much for joining as a member. You will notice in the chat that you will be able to start using a few emojis, as well as if you type in the chat, you will have your first badge. Every month that you stay as a member, the badge color will change and upgrade, and I can see how long you've been a member for. Appreciate you joining. Get your questions in the chat, and of course I will answer them all straight away. Alan, thank you very much for your super chat. Appreciate it. Again, everyone super chatting and joining as a member, I appreciate it so much. Help support the channel and get me the upgrades and things that I'm planning on over the next sort of 6 months or so to improve my laptop battery, so maybe we could do longer streams or different types of stuff and improve the performance of my videos and things like that. So all of that's coming, but Alan, thank you for the super chat. And I was planning taking Gray out and bring Coutinho in just in case the double game week. Do I think I should go for a keep your free transfer? I would probably keep your free transfer because I don't think that they are going to add games to the double game week after the deadline. I think they would probably... Sorry. Yeah, I don't think they're going to add to the double game week after the deadline, so I probably wouldn't. I would hold your transfer and wait if we get doubles next week. I apologise if you think, Jesper, that I'm promoting too much. I will crack on with your questions. Am I taking Cristiano Ronaldo out? No, I'm going to keep him. I've got a good enough bench if he doesn't play, so I am keeping him in my team for now. So yeah, he's staying in my team. If you don't have a good bench, then maybe consider it because it seems to be an ongoing issue, but I'm not selling him. I think I might need to slow the chat down slightly more so I can get in and answer all of these questions. Tierney in. He's not a bad option for this week, but the only issue is after that they have a away fixture against Wolves, which is fine, but then 2 blanks coming up with nice fixtures around them. If you've got a good bench, then buying Tierney is fine, but he'd probably not be top of the list of defenders that I'm looking to be transferring into my team at the moment. Would I start Reguilon or Brownhill? I probably would. As much as I said I probably wouldn't back Brownhill, I probably would play him in that situation. He's got 2 games. I don't back Reguilon for a clean sheet. He's not had that many attacking returns, so I probably would go Brownhill out of the 2. Bruno or Foden? Probably Foden long term. Bruno's a good punt this week, and if they get a double maybe in 25, then it's worthwhile. So bearing that in mind, and if Ronaldo's out this week, if you can go to Bruno, then go there. Actually, I think I changed my mind on that one. Would I take a -4 to get Foster in? No, I wouldn't do that. Would I take a -4 to do Madison to Coutinho? Absolutely not. I wouldn't be selling Madison. He's got a good fixture this week. He scored in game week 23 again. Maybe look to game week 22 again even. Maybe look to sell after the upcoming... after the Brighton game. But I would keep him, and I definitely wouldn't sell him for a -4 when Aston Villa are going away to Everton. I don't think that's worth it given the form that we know. Your thoughts on Jacob Ramsey? He's a very good enabler. Probably the best cheap midfielder that we've got in the game at the moment. I know. And probably the best one we've had all season. If he continues to keep his place, the only issue is how do they fit everyone in? Because for me, it's either Ramsey or Ings drop out. And that would depend on how exactly he wants to... Gerrard wants to use Coutinho. So it will depend on one of those two. Now... I think Ramsey will keep his place, and I personally think it'll be Ings that drops out of that Aston Villa side once we get Coutinho coming in, but it's just worth waiting and seeing. Something is telling you to captain De Bruyne instead of Dennis. He's not a bad option. He's definitely he's got a great fixture this week, right? And he's been on really good form. But I think, yeah, for me it's Dennis all the way. If I had both. Peter, your current defense is Trent, Tierney, Lamptey, Dalot, Diop. Would I get Laporte or Walker? Dalot for -4, so don't have to play Lamptey. Long-term, a double City defence is good. I would go for Laporte over Walker probably, although it's quite close. But yeah, I probably would. I'd probably do Dalot up to Laporte, even for a -4. But long-term, that transfer is going to be beneficial to your squad, I think. You don't want to have to put up with the benching issue of is Wan-Bissaka going to play every week. You don't want that every single game week when it comes around. So I probably would do that. Going to go King over Dennis. Too many people in my league have him. Well, that's not necessarily... Don't, not buy someone just because other people have them. Buy the one that you expect to score as many points as you think you can get. Hang on, let me just... Sorry, give me 1 sec, guys. I will be right back with you. Cool. Sorry. Will Foster start? He came back into that starting 11 last week, so yeah, I do expect him to keep his place as well. I don't know how he played last week, and I don't know if it's possible that he loses his place, but he's got 2 good fixtures, so in theory, if he only plays 1, then it's not the worst case in the world. De Gea has been very poor the past couple of... Well, he's not been poor, but from a FPL point of view, not being great in terms of keeping clean sheets. So I'm not confident that Man U will keep a clean sheet against that West Ham team. So I would be starting Foster over De Gea if you've got him, personally. Did they cancel the second free hit? No, you should still have it, Ahmed. You should still have it. Should all still have your 2 free hits. First bench option, would I bench Gray or Gallagher? Since Ronnie is in doubt. Gray versus Gallagher. Probably Damari Gray. It's pretty close, but they should have Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison both back fit for this game, so I probably would go with him. If I was wildcarding this week, who would be my must-haves? I probably wouldn't have Ronaldo. I'd probably have Bruno, Salah, and I'd probably bench Salah. I know it sounds counterproductive, but you could go Salah, De Bruyne, and then do one of them to Salah next week when he comes back. That's probably what I would do. I'd have Salah, De Bruyne, Jota, Bowen, and then maybe Rafinha in my midfield. I'd then up front, I would have one of the Watford guys and maybe Watkins, and then maybe a cheap option with my defence being a Man City option in Cancelo, Trent, maybe double Man City defence, then some others around him. Sell Backman for Foster or Son for Rafinha. Tim Golding, it depends what the rest of your team is like, because Backman to Foster is not a bad move long term because I expect Foster to keep his place, but Son is likely to be back in game week 23. So you're only benching him for 1 week. However, Rafinha has a really nice fixture this week and is capable of scoring enough points to make the transfer worthwhile. So if you need the outfield player to play, then do Rafinha. But if not, then I would go and play. I would do the defensive option. Bench 1: De Bruyne, Bowen, Rafinha, Saka, or Jota. Bowen, Rafinha, Saka, or... Well, I'm not benching De Bruyne. I'm not benching Rafinha. I'm not benching Jota. I don't really want to bench Saka. I probably would bench Bowen in that situation. I considered doing it in my own team this week, and I think I've had some sense taught into me. But at the moment, I would bench Bowen in that. bench boost is possible. The only issue is Johnson doesn't play and then Reguilon doesn't. So I really would be needing returns from De Gea and Odegaard for it even to be considered as being worthwhile. So although I think I may have points on my bench this week, I also think there's a chance that Ronaldo doesn't play. So I could easily get Odegaard into my starting team if Ronaldo doesn't play. So I don't think so. Cristiano Ronaldo or Gray in the starting 11. I'd start Ronaldo if you've got him. If you've got him, don't go benching Ronaldo. Would I bench Sancho or Cody? I mean, if you've got Sancho, I probably would not want to own him in the first place, but I would probably bench Cody before I benched Sancho. If you've got Sancho, you've got to play him, right? But I don't think he's a very good option at the moment. Rafinha and Foden in for Mount and Gray. Yeah, -4. I probably would still do that. We'll talk about my transfer plans in just a moment, so bear with me and we'll get to that. Should you transfer in Martinelli or Tierney? The issue is I probably wouldn't do either because they've got a couple of blanks coming up. But if I had to buy one, I'd probably buy Martinelli. Firmino for Cristiano Ronaldo. The issue is as soon as Salah and Mane come back, you've got a whole issue of the amount of people being rotated in that Liverpool front line. I don't love Firmino as an option. So no, I probably wouldn't be choosing Firmino if I was looking to sell Ronaldo. Odegaard and Rafinha or Saka and Harrison. Probably Odegaard and Rafinha. I just think the consistency of returns you'll get from Rafinha is good enough. And Odegaard's not a bad option at all. Maybe you can go Martinelli and Rafinha. If you can do that, then that's probably what I would do. Which two to play out of Antonio, Bowen, Gray, and... Which two to play out of Antonio, Bowen, Gray, and Lamptey. So I would probably... I'd bench Gray and I'd bench Lamptey probably. Lamptey I'd definitely bench. I'll probably bench Gray as well. Alan, thank you for the super chat. Start Bowen or Antonio. If I had to play one, it is Bowen. Although Antonio is the striker in theory in the team, Bowen has been on such better form the past few weeks. So Bowen would be my choice out of the two. Sarr versus Brentford or Foster for the double game week. I'd probably play Foster. If you've got Foster, there's no keeper that I think I'd really start over him this week. Although they haven't kept a clean sheet this season, and I'm sure it will come back to bite me. He is the one that I'm going with this week. Do I think Bernardo Silva is worth keeping? It's not. I don't. It's a hard one. I'm keeping him more because I don't have any money to upgrade him anywhere. Now I could do Bernardo Silva to Rafinha, for example, but I don't particularly love that long term. Rafinha's fixtures are a bit more difficult. Bernardo Silva has a good run of fixtures and it's Man City, right? That's probably the only move that I would probably consider doing, but I'm keeping him at the moment. There's not enough cheaper options that I like at the moment. Shaheen, or welcome to the chat. How are we doing? You still have Son, Alonso to get... You should have Son, Alonso to get Bruno. I need a -4. I could get Raf and Laporte. I quite like Rafinha. Bruno's a great option still. Well, he's becoming not a bad option, but it's only going off 2 games of him having something to prove, apparently. But I like Rafinha and Laporte if it's for free. Rafinha has a great fixture this week. Again, it's a big game for Leeds. Who to start, Bernardo Silva or Madison? I'd probably go Madison. If you have a chance to bench Bernardo Silva for a player like that's returning points like Madison is, I probably would. I'm not precious about Bernardo Silva anymore. I'm starting him. Maybe I should bench him for Odegaard, but not... I'm finding my benching decision really difficult between Odegaard, Bernardo Silva and Jared Bowen, but this is how I'm going at the moment on it. Dennis and King double up. As I said earlier in the stream, if you've got one of them, fine, but I wouldn't be buying a second. If you've got 2 of them, fine, of course, play them both, but I wouldn't really be buying the second one. Their fixtures after this week are not good enough that you'd probably just want to sell one. It could work out King, the one that you could bring in could outscore the player you're selling by 8 points. But I probably wouldn't take the risk that it goes wrong, given what we saw happen in game week 22 with them. So they're not bad options, but I would probably be happy and content just owning one of them this week, I think. Start Gray or Antonio. Probably Antonio. I don't love Gray. KDB or King for captaincy. I would be on King. I'm backing the double game week players for captaincy this week. Should I do Son to Rafinha and Alonso to Laporte? You don't have Bruno. Magic, if that makes it free, whereas you'd have to take a -4 in order to go up to Bruno, then I would just do it for free and go Rafinha. Maximin or Calvert-Lewin? I probably would Calvert-Lewin. I don't love either of them, but I'd probably go Calvert-Lewin. Eddie, Casey, how are we doing? Appreciate all your support. Who's a captain? If you've got King in that list, I see one Watford attacker, and it's gonna be who I go with. If you guys have got a Watford attacker, it's who I'm gonna be recommending you put your captaincy armband on. Nuclear, you said you've asked me a question. If you could put it in the stream chat, it would be more useful. But Rafinha and KDB in for Foden and Jota, or Rafinha and Foden in for Mount and Gray. I would do the second option. Cool. Should I do Gaeta Foster for a -4? Got Sanchez as the other goalkeeper. Do I think Foster outscores Sanchez by 4? I think you might get close, but I don't necessarily think he will. But if it allows you to free up a little bit of money, then I don't necessarily think it's a bad move for the upcoming weeks. If you save a little bit of cash, you get Gaeta out of your team, who's not a good pick at all at the moment. I don't hate that if you want another double game week player and you want a chance that Watford keep their first clean sheet of the season. But I probably would. I wouldn't rush to do it, but if it's freeing up some money, then fine. Backman or Foster? Foster's the first choice now, I think. Is Lucas Moura to Rafinha for a -4 worth it? Is Lucas Moura to Rafinha for a -4 worth it? Would mean benching Antonio. I probably would just bench Moura and play Antonio. Wait and see if there's a double game week midfielder that maybe you want to bring in for Moura. I probably would just do the one move. So I haven't actually spoken about my transfer plans, and we've been live for 45 minutes. So maybe we'll go and have a look at what I'm going to do with my team before we go and crack on with a few more of the questions. You can see up on screen how my team is lining up for this week. Long story short, I don't think I'm going to make a transfer. I think I'm going to roll my transfer for the first time since, I think, Christmas. I don't think I've rolled a transfer since like game week 16, maybe even before that. So I think I'm going to make no transfers is the bottom line of it. I could sell Bernardo Silva. It's probably the only thing I look at my team and think I could do. I could sell Ronaldo, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I still back. It's then 2 weeks off for him to come back fully fit for a run of Burnley, Southampton, Leeds and Watford. Like, can you imagine if Ronaldo and Bruno have this run of games, plus they have a double game week? If they get Southampton in 25, they play Burnley, double game week, Leeds, Watford. That would be crazy. So no chance I'm selling Ronaldo, especially given that I have Odegaard on my bench. So if Ronaldo doesn't play, then Odegaard will come in. But yeah. Lucas Moura to Rafinha. If it's for free, yeah, I don't mind it. If it's for a -4, I don't know who you've got coming off your bench, but it's not a bad move this week. Suggest a punt for game week 23 if I'll be wildcarding in game week 24. Arsenal looks a great place to target, but I probably would target the double game week. João Pedro, for example, or go for the Watford, I would probably try and target the double game week. Now, is João Pedro a forward? I think he is. So maybe you don't have room in your team for him. Midfield, none of them really catch the eye, so you maybe want to go for a single game week player. You could punt on a Burnley option, but I don't think that's a particularly good idea. So maybe it's Arsenal, maybe it's Martinelli or someone like that. Maybe I still think Madison is a great pick this week. Maybe it's Firmino if you want to go up front. The deadline is still an hour and 15 minutes away. We still got plenty of time. I'm going to stream up to and as close as I can get to the deadline. Can I talk about City midfielders? Absolutely. So I think De Bruyne and Foden are by far the best two options that we can be picking in those positions. De Bruyne if you have the money, but for a lot of people with the likes of United, with the likes of Salah, then it's very difficult to be fitting De Bruyne in your team with them, and you have to sacrifice elsewhere. There's no cheap alternative to Salah, really. You could say Jota, but a lot of us want to own both. There's no cheap alternative to Bruno and Ronaldo, but there is a cheap alternative to De Bruyne, and that is Foden. I probably would be backing Foden off the back of it. It's that 4 million or something you save. Would I double up on Villa strikers or get Antonio for Ronaldo to get Salah next week? Don't fancy doubling up on Watford strikers. I wouldn't double up on Villa strikers because I'm not sure how many more games Danny Ings will keep his place for. And they're not scoring enough goals at the moment for me to want to do that. So I probably wouldn't. If you've got space to go for a double Watford attacker and then you can reassess next week, then maybe. But that's probably where I would go. Love these streams. What do I think about Antonio to King and Bruno to KDB for a -4? I wouldn't be selling Bruno to KDB for a -4. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that. Antonio to King is not a bad move, but I wouldn't be selling Bruno now. Would I do Alonso to Laporte if you were me this game week, or wait a week and start Alonso? I'd probably do Alonso to Laporte if it's for free. If it's for a hit, I wouldn't do it. But if it's for free and you were going to do it next week anyway, then I would probably go and do it. Should I bench Gray to start a Burnley midfielder? If it's Brownhill or Gray, I probably would play Gray. Cucurella or Cash to start? Probably Cash out of the two. Stian, what did you do with your transfers? Why did the views drop suddenly? We're at 399 a minute ago. I think Andy went live. I do. I can see on my little graph, and it happened really quickly at just past 3 o'clock. I've just passed 5 o'clock, so. But I appreciate anyone that chose to stick around and watch my stream instead. Thank you. Son to Coutinho. Probably not the top of my midfield transfer targets. I probably would go Rafinha before I bought Coutinho this week. But long-term, Coutinho is not a bad punt. I just don't know if I trust him off one game yet. Burnley mid, Brownhill or Westwood. Please tell me you're not using a precious transfer to go and bring in a Burnley midfielder in Brownhill or Westwood. It's just not... Please, it's just not worth it. Please, it's not worth it. If I had to pick one, I probably would pick Westwood. It's on more set pieces. Odegaard, Gray to Rafinha or Steer to Foster. I probably would do Steer to Foster in that case because Rafinha's got a good fixture this week, but I wouldn't necessarily want to sell the other two. Gray I would sell before Odegaard, I think. But I would probably just hold off on it and do maybe the goalkeeper one. Someday we'll have enough subs to compete. I don't expect that, but how crazy would that be? Rudiger to Laporte for free? Yeah, if you can do that for free, I probably would. Do I think I should do Bernardo Silva to Rafinha or save my transfer for next week? I probably would save your transfer because we may get double game week announcements again before the game week 24 deadline. And if we get that, then you're going to be wanting to have as many transfers in the bank. And I don't think your transfer this week has enough upside compared to maybe if you took 2 transfers into your team next week. Like, I could do it, but the thought of Bernardo Silva out doesn't really cross my mind looking at my team. I'm very happy with my team. Who would I sell Salah to if I still owned? If you own Salah now, I wouldn't sell him. The next game week is 2.5 weeks away, the deadline at the moment. The chances that he's back for that game week and plays Leicester at home is very high. I think it's about a 75% chance that he plays that. If you've kept Salah for this long, you keep him, and I wouldn't go selling him now. Triple Man City defence an option. Yes and no. It's very hard to predict. You're probably only going to get 2 of them starting every week, but it's not a bad option. They are quite a lot of money, and some of them aren't very attacking. You do just have clean sheets from some of the others, so I think double up is enough for me based on that the others don't have enough attacking threat. Can I talk through our plans for the next few game weeks? Of course. So let me get... Well, I don't really have any, is a simple answer. Is that I'm going to just wait and see what happens on if we get double game week announcement. If I look at my team, next week, Reguilon, Southampton and Wolves at home, so he can come back in and start in those 2, along with Cancelo and Trent. So my defence is pretty sorted. In goal, yeah, De Gea's not been good, but their fixtures coming up are really nice. So he's going to stay. Defence I'm pretty happy with. I need to get Salah back. In, and if Ronaldo and Fernandes get a double game week, then I basically can't get him back in, which is it's the issue, but it's also not, right? It would be a 2-week thing. I would keep, if they get a double in 25, I would keep Fernandes for Burnley away, Southampton at home, Brighton at home, so those 3 games, whereas Salah would have Leicester at home, Burnley away. It's whether I think that keeping Fernandes for those 3 games is worth not having Salah for his 2 games, which I kind of think I probably would just back the extra fixture. But if Man United are getting a double game week, would I move Jota to Salah to keep Bruno for it? I basically can't. There's nowhere in my team I can get enough money to do anyone to Salah that isn't either Bernardo, that isn't either Fernandes or Ronaldo. I probably could sell, I don't even know if I could, in theory, sell like Jota and Bernardo to get Salah and... Could I do this? Like 3.5. Like, I don't even have the money to do it, and I can't even go and get Ramsey in there. It leaves me I'm 1.1 million short. It's not like I'm just short. I am so far short, which would mean I'd have to downgrade Reguilon to a 4.2 option if I wanted to do that. So I basically have no route to getting Salah in unless it's selling Fernandes or selling Ronaldo. And at the moment, I have no plan on selling either of them if they get a double in 25. The good thing is we should know that double before the game week 24 deadline, if they're going to double in 25, because 24 is a midweek game week. So deadline is on a Tuesday. So you'd hope that they give fans, that would be a week's notice, and they realistically are giving more than a week's notice. If it was a weekend deadline, they could announce it just after the deadline like they've done before. But I'm fairly happy to think that if they're going to double in game week 25, we'll know that before game week 24. So then I can know whether I want to bring Salah into my team for 24 for their Leicester fixture, or I keep and play my Manchester United options away at Burnley that game. So we'll have to wait and see. If there are no doubles for United and they don't get that Brighton game, then Salah will come in, I think. But if they do, then I think I just go another week. I think I go 2 weeks more without Salah, which I don't know if is a good idea or not. But Kane and Gray or would I have a different striker and a Rafinha? I probably would ditch Kane, go cheaper, get Rafinha. Although Kane scoring points, I don't think he's really worth his value at the moment. Son to Foden or Sterling, Rafinha or Coutinho. Help, you have no clue. Son to Foden or Sterling, Rafinha to Coutinho. Son should be back next week is the only thing. If you've held him this long, I probably would do... If you can bench Son this week, go for it. If you can't bench him, I probably would go Foden out of that list. Bruno to KDB captain for free. I probably wouldn't do that, especially if you've got a Watford option. I wouldn't be selling Bruno in order not to captain a Watford striker, in my opinion. Best defender to bring in is so difficult at the moment. Wolves, I like their options this week, and you can see just below me that their fixture this week is... Where is Wolves? Away at Brentford. So, yeah. Wolves, Villa, but it's away at a new Everton that I don't love that either. So, I probably would, if you want a defender, go Wolves, but I probably wouldn't be rushing to get a defender this week. I don't think it's a week to be buying a defender into your team. You're really thinking Cristiano Ronaldo is a Teddy's out of the pram moment? You think, not an injury, after he got taken off on Wednesday? I think Ronaldo's too professional for that, but let's wait and see. Again, I have a very strong squad, so if he doesn't play, I'm okay with that. Jaden, how are we doing? The exact same midfield as you. Would I bring in Jacob Ramsey for my current midfielders? You have him and want to know if I should bench or start him. Again, if you've got exactly the same front eight, I probably would have Ramsey on the bench this week. I don't expect him to score every week, so I probably wouldn't be starting him unless I needed to. I still value him as a cheap option. If I needed money, I could definitely downgrade Odegaard or Bernardo Silva to get to him. It would be an easy way for me to get money. My transfer plans, I'm not going to make a transfer before the game week 23 deadline unless we get an announcement that someone is injured or a double game week or some sort of announcement before the deadline. And then I'll either bring in Salah next week if he's back, or I won't, depending on if Manchester United get a double. Your mind is filled with so many ideas. You're blank now on what to do. I don't see a lot from the players that we've brought in over the past couple of weeks. A lot of them have good fixtures this week. I think rolling a transfer is a good place for us all. We could get double game week announcements before the next deadline, and having two transfers, if United get a double game week, it's very nice for a lot of us to have two transfers, and we can look to how maybe we maximise that double game week. But then there'll also be, Brighton will have a double game week in 25 if the fixture that we think gets announced, and one of them is away at Watford. So I could get in a Brighton defender, for example, or something. But at the moment, unless you've got real pressing issues, I probably would hold off. Best striker, non-Watford, for under 7 million. Let's have a look. So Maximin, Mopai, Tony. Probably Tony, isn't it? But their fixtures are not great coming up. Wolves at home, City away. It gets better from 25, but probably not the time to be buying him. Brohas are no better either. Would probably be my top two that I would want to go with. Chris Wood, but he didn't look good in his first game. But they've got a better run of fixtures and they need to score goals. I would probably go Tony. Mopai's fine if he was to start every week, but he blanks. He blanks in game week 24. So I probably would go Tony, or I would go Chris Wood. I can't believe I'm saying it. Or I'd go for a Watford guy. I still would back all the Watford strikers over any of those I've just mentioned. Pookie, Watford Palace in the next two. Then go to Tony, Watford, Pookie, then get Pookie for the next two and then go to Tony. But that's an extra transfer booked in, but that's not a bad option. Ronaldo got treatment yesterday. I don't have any training news at the moment. Not that I normally get news. Would I not consider playing Odegaard over Watkins? Sorry, again, just trying to check on. So there is a video that they have posted on Twitter, which includes Ronaldo in training. Let me get that up, shall we? I don't know if I'm even allowed to show this on stream. So that right there is Cristiano Ronaldo. This is stepping up preparations for the Hammers 6 minutes ago. It also includes Pogba in there, so we know it's a recent video. Let me mute it. So, good news, I think. I don't know who else was absent. Wan-Bissaka, I don't know if he's in this video, but cool. So we'll have to wait and see, but it does look like Ronaldo is back in training, as is Rashford, it seems, but he was on the bench, I think, midweek. Maguire there, don't know if he's going to be starting, what's going to happen with him, but... So, should you use the bench boost with Alonso, Lloris, Smith Rowe and Antonio? It's not the worst bench boost I've heard, but I probably wouldn't. Alonso, Lloris could easily be both teams scoring, and then those two are out. Smith Rowe and Antonio are both good options. I would expect you to get maybe 10 to 15 points from that bench. So if you're happy with that and you want to chance it, I think that's not bad. It's not the best fixture maybe for Lloris though, for example. But it's not awful. He makes a lot of saves, Lloris. So if you've got... Didn't want to do that. Let's find just a little... There he is. I personally wouldn't. Again, I'm waiting until the end of the season to play my bench boost. But if you've got no other time that you want to play it, I don't think that's a bad option with Smith Rowe and Antonio there. Laporte and Rafinha for Dallo and Mora. Yeah, I would do them. Two good moves, actually. Dallo doesn't look like he's going to be keeping his place long term. I think Wan-Bissaka will probably come back in. And then Mora to Rafinha is definitely a good move. Start Mount or Damari Gray. I'd probably start Mount. Chelsea is so bad without him. Egypt are playing Ivory Coast, so Salah will probably be eliminated immediately. Do I still sell him for De Bruyne this week? So, let me get the African Cup of Nations fixtures up. African Cup of Nations fixtures. So, round of 16, Egypt against Ivory Coast. And if they lose that, they get knocked out. Interesting. Because that's quite a big... That's a difficult game for Egypt. Now, that would mean that he's back for game week 24. Which I think is what we are kind of expecting anyway for Egypt. But if he's back for game week 24, then... If you're looking to sell him this week, I wouldn't sell him. If it was me, Harry. If I've got him in my team this week, I can never get my... Because I sit up and then I slouch, and then when I sit up, it alters how high I am on the camera. If I had Salah still, I would hold him now, especially given that fixture. Just came back from college. What are the transfer plans am I planning to do? So I'm planning on rolling my free transfer. I'm pretty set with this team. My captaincy at the moment is on Dennis. I might vice captain one of these guys. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this vice captaincy there on Trent. Dennis captain. Don't plan on changing this, I don't think, before the deadline. Bench Reguilon or Soufal. I would probably be looking at benching Reguilon or Soufal. Probably Reguilon. It's close, but probably Reguilon. Probably. Give me a moment. Cristiano Ronaldo was in full training today, apparently. So let's see. But I'm hopeful for Ronaldo this week, given what we've seen just then. I would be more reluctant to sell him based on that video that has just come out. Now, we didn't expect we'd get a training video. I've got, you know that, sorry, really random, that slime you get to complete your, like, clean your laptop. But it's obviously been kept in a place that's too warm. So it's now really, like, runny. It's so disgusting. And it just, like, normally it is easy to get off stuff. But if I was to put this on my laptop, there would be no getting it off. Coutinho or Rafinha. Short this week, Rafinha, and there was a chance he got a double this week, which still means they could double soon. But probably Coutinho, because he would double against Villa. So I probably would go with Coutinho now. It's really close, because this week Rafinha is the better option. If I could own one this week, it's Rafinha. Long term, the Villa fixtures are much better than the Leeds ones. Bamford is still not back, so that's a close call. I probably would just about favour Coutinho, but I wouldn't be surprised at some point in this stream I've given the other answer to that, because I think it's so close. Burnley versus Watford postponed, right? No, so it got postponed from Tuesday and then has been put back in game week 23, so they have a double game week again. Would I not consider playing Odegaard over Watkins? So my issue with Odegaard this week is that Arsenal have looked good, but they're unlikely to have a lot of defensive midfielders fit and available for the upcoming game week. And Odegaard is one of those players that he can sit and play in front of the defence in a more defensive role if he needs to, and if they don't have players available, which I wonder if what's going to happen against Burnley when they're trying to just be a bit more creative. They'll drop him in there, they'll play Smith Rowe slightly higher up, then they'll play all of their attackers, then, which is why I'm just a little bit reluctant to play Odegaard. He's probably the one that I'm happy to bench here. Backman or Foster? Foster would be the one I'd play. Would I start Ramsdale or Foster? I'd probably play Foster. No, I'd probably play Ramsdale. I have to back the Arsenal defence. I think it's probably the one of the few goalkeepers I'd probably play over Foster this week. What I think about KDB as an option, he's not a bad pick at all. I do quite like him, but it's quite a lot of money, and it can be very difficult for a lot of people with their team structures to go and fit in a player like De Bruyne. So I don't dislike him, and I think he'll continue to return points, but will he continue to return points for the price he is versus how you could spend that money elsewhere? I don't know. I don't love him. I'm not quite bought into his price tag yet. I still think the likes of Foden for 4 million cheaper is where I would go personally. Should I start Smith Rowe over Alonso? Yes. I would. If I could bench Alonso this week, he seems to be a walking yellow card and we can't keep a clean sheet to save our lives at the moment. So is Smith Rowe a good option? Yes. Yeah, I think he'll start this game, personally. Personally, I would start him. I think he'll start this game. Ugh. It's grim. Start any three of Semedo, Alonso, Gray, and Antonio. Semedo, Alonso, Gray, Antonio. I would bench Alonso. I'd bench Alonso out of those lot. This is going so horribly wrong. Can't even see one. Oh, it's gone everywhere. Who would I vice captain? Trent or Cancelo? Your captain is Dennis. I think it's close. I think Dennis will play, so I don't think it'll be too much. But I'm vice captaining Trent at the moment, just because his attacking threat is slightly more. Would I do Foden or Dennis? Again, if anyone's going to ask a captaincy option and there is a Watford option in either Dennis or King involved in that captaincy option, they will be who I back, right? I'm backing those guys to be the best captaincy picks for this game week. Mopai and Alonso out for Dennis and Laporte. Yeah, Ethan seemed like very straightforward transfers to me. Don't have a problem with doing them. No chance Villa get a double game week this week, right? I don't think so. Now, we've never been in the situation where they've announced a game to fall into a game week after the deadline has come. Now, from emails that have seemed to have been sent by the official FPL when people have questioned this, they've said it won't be added into that game week. The only issue is, right, what happens if they announce Villa Leeds on the same day as that Watford game? Like, in theory, they could play that on the Saturday or the Sunday. Both are possible. Flame, thank you for subscribing. Anyone else who is watching and not subscribing, it would be much appreciated if you could hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. Let me... You have a free transfer. Who would I remove Lucas Moura for? If I was looking to bring probably Rafinha or Foden, one of the two would be my top targets if I was looking to bring in a midfielder this week. Who would I upgrade Bernardo to KDB for this week with a view of Salah once he's back to take out Rudiger this week for Laporte Dean? Would I upgrade Bernardo to KDB for this week with a view to Salah once he's back, or take out Rudiger this week for Laporte? I could also roll. I would probably roll. In that situation, Joseph. If you want to go Bernardo up to De Bruyne, it's not a bad transfer plan, but I don't necessarily think it's necessarily worth using a transfer on for this week, personally. Ben Johnson, 0 pointer. Fantastic. I'm so happy I brought this guy. He's done... like, I have such luck, right? I bring him in here. Oh, well. Doesn't play again. Plays 45 minutes of football, gets the yellow card, and turns into a complete bench fodder for me. Mount to Rafinha, Coutinho. Mount to Rafinha or Coutinho, and Rudiger to Laporte for -4 or roll the transfer. I would make the moves, personally. Long-term, Coutinho and Laporte are much better options than your Chelsea guys. Your Chelsea guys are transfers waiting to happen because of the upcoming blank game weeks that Chelsea do have. Would I double up on Watford if you have Antonio, Watkins and King? No, I wouldn't. I think they're good options this week, but I don't think they are worth... I don't think they're worth ripping up your team for. I think one is good, but if you're not captaining the second one, then I think there's much less benefit in owning them. So you're conflicted. Should I play Ronaldo and Foden or KDB and Bruno? Also Coutinho or Bernardo, please and thank you. If you've got a choice of Ronaldo and Foden or De Bruyne and Bruno, I probably prefer De Bruyne and Bruno very slightly. And Coutinho or Bowen. Are you on a free hit this week? Because this week, Coutinho over Bowen. But long term, I'm not getting rid of Bowen. I don't know how you're making quite so many wholesale changes to your team, but that would probably be what I would go. Should I play Gray or Bowen? I would probably play Gray. Would I start Lamptey or Trossard? I would start Trossard for sure. Didn't play last week. I expect him to start. King or Dennis? I'd get Dennis. 8 Nori, 2 assists last week. You were unlucky with the timing. He was perfect transfer. He was actually one of the most unlucky things I've had all season was my transfer in of 8 Nori. So if you guys look at my points, I brought in... Let me find him. When did I sell him? So I brought in 8 Nori here for that Brighton game. He didn't play there. They kept a clean sheet. He didn't play in 18. He was in my starting team. Kept a clean sheet. Then they missed 2 game weeks in 20 and 21. 19 and 20. And then I sold him. 21 he didn't play, and 22 he came back in at home to Southampton and scored 11 points. Just one of those things. I was actually better off. I can't remember who I brought in for him now, but I think I brought Ben Johnson in actually. That went well. Would I start Brownhill for his double game week or Lucas Moura? Brownhill versus Lucas Moura, very close call. I probably would just about favour Brownhill. But Chelsea have been conceding a lot of chances. I suppose what's the worst case scenario? I don't see Lucas Moura maybe getting more than like 7 or 8. And Brownhill's probably destined to get a 4 or 5. I think Lucas Moura probably has a 75% chance of getting a 2 and a 25% chance of getting something more. And then Brownhill is 100% chance of, or 95% chance of getting a 4. I would probably play Lucas Moura. I know Brownhill's got the double game week, but I probably wouldn't play Brownhill unless I had to. Just there's literally nothing there from him. Your team is Foster, Cancelo, blah, blah, blah. Does this change your mind? Salah to De Bruyne. Your midfield, Foden, Bruno, Jota, Bowen. No, I think that team's fine. You got Reguilon or Lamptey. I'd maybe do your transfer there. I don't think your transfer is needed in Salah to De Bruyne. I think your transfer is needed in selling... I don't know who you've got on the bench. Dalot to 8 Nori. Easy. That's what I would do with that team, Harry. Dalot to 8 Nori. Dallow's going to cause you an issue for the foreseeable future. But yeah. Dean or in for Rudiger? Yeah, if it's for free, I would probably do that. Defensive transfers for... Oh, no, Archie, I'm really sorry. How do I untime someone out? I tried to put someone else in timeout and I accidentally clicked on the wrong person. How do I... I don't know. I don't know how I do that. Oh, right. It's been a long day. What time is it? I might have to wrap up the stream shortly. It's almost... I'll do for another 10 minutes until the hour, and then I will probably head off half hour before the deadline. Because I'm going out this evening, and I am absolutely shattered already, and it's only 6 o'clock. Go for De Bruyne or Sterling? I'd go for De Bruyne. Do you play Bowen or Lacazette or Antonio? I would play Lacazette as my number 1, then Bowen, then Antonio in that order. Archie asked Antonio to Watkins for a free transfer or roll. I would roll. Don't think it's worth it. Again, the extra week of news on potential doubles in 25, I would probably wait and roll your transfer if you can this week. Who do I play, Lamptey or Alonso? Probably Lamptey. I haven't backed Chelsea recently. I don't think there'll be a clean sheet either. I think they've both got pretty equal attacking options, but yeah. Who do I captain between Cancelo, Trent, Foden, Watkins? If I had to captain a single... Well, my vice captain is on Trent. It would be on one of the defenders, I think. In Trent... Oh, you've got King. Go for it. vice captain on Trent. Is it worth to do Gray to Rafinha or save the transfer? I would save the transfer again. If you can roll the transfer, then that's probably what I would do. What do you say? Bring in Mount for? I wouldn't be bringing in Mount. Absolutely not. They've got blank game weeks coming up. Bringing in Mount will cause you a headache going forward. Captain options. Watford strikers. Most 95% of teams have one in this week. For me, they're the best captaincy option. Back the double, especially when their fixtures are Norwich at home, Burnley away. Antonio or Watkins. If you've got one of them, just keep them. If you had to bring in one of them to your team, I'd buy Watkins, but I wouldn't necessarily do Antonio to Watkins this week. Is Foden to De Bruyne worth it? No, I probably would. If you've got Foden already, no, I wouldn't do Foden to De Bruyne. Best defender under 4.5. I'd go 8 Nori of Wolves. King, Dennis and Fernandez, or Kane, Dennis and Gray. So King and Fernandez or Kane and Gray. Probably King and Fernandez. Probably King and Fernandez. Antonio to King for a -4. Already own Dennis. Again, I probably wouldn't do that. The West Ham fixtures after this week are much nicer than those of Watford's. But if you need the money in order to get Salah back in or future moves, then maybe you go and do the transfer if you need that money elsewhere. Cool, right. I am going to wrap up the stream there, but someone on Twitter has just started their own stream, so I am going to send you guys over there with a little bit of a link. I appreciate you guys coming and watching. I am absolutely shattered. The only reason you're in the top 40k is because of me. I appreciate that. If you guys could go and click the link that I'm about to put in the chat and go and watch his stream, that would be absolutely brilliant. I would captain Dennis over Gray for me. Good luck this week, guys. My DMs on Twitter are open if you have more questions. Go and join the stream that I'm about to post in the chat for FPL Erie and say that I sent you. Put FPL Harry in the chat. Let's go. And he's only on about 20 viewers. So if you guys could have over there, it would really support him. I think it's his first stream as well. So let's go and say hello in there. Follow the link that I have just posted in the chat. Just go and say hello. Even if you just say hello and then drop out again, go and show him a little bit of love. Good luck this week, guys, and I'll be back again very soon next week. Cheers all. Bye.